Triple-E EDC back again with another knife video. This is the Civivi Appalachian Drifter. This is a very interesting option that was put out by Civivi at the end of 2020. This is a double D10 system, just like the Laconico or Monterey Bay Knives EWC, which we'll see later in the video. We'll do some size comparisons and also a little bit of a comparison as well. But let's go ahead and talk about some background on this. This does come in a couple different options, comes in a couple different S35 Vienna micarta options, comes in this sort of Damascus or G10 made to look like Damascus on the handle, and then this black Damascus blade. I believe their black Damascus is the 9CR 18 MOV that they normally do. I really like their 9CR 18 MOV, and it's actually a great steel. Don't sleep on it. I know people hear that and they think 8CR 13 MOV. It is not that. It is better, and this is a pretty good Damascus for being a budget steel. In any event, let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Here is the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 and the Para 3. And because of perspective on this, let's go ahead and change that. You can see it's not a huge knife. Here's the Benchmade Griptilian. Here is the Benchmade 945 and the 940. Here is the Benchmade Bugout and Mini Bugout. You can see this is sort of an in-between size of those two. And then we're also going to do the EWC that I spoke about earlier. So as you can see, the blade on this is very similar, and the handle is a little bit smaller on the EWC. But we'll get into that later. Let's go ahead and talk about the good on this knife. So one of the great good things about this knife is it is very well priced. You're looking at about $83 for the S35 VN one, which is a steal for S35 VN. $83 for S35 VN is a great price, especially with micarta. And the $93 for the Damascus here. It is 9CR Damascus, but like I said, it's a good steel and a good budget Damascus. It's very attractive looking. I think it's a great deal, even at $93. Although, you know, I wouldn't want to pay over $100 for it if they end up doing any price bumps. So if you're watching this at the time and it's still $93, good deal. If you're watching it later on and it's over $100, you start to think twice. In any event, one of the best thing I like about this more than anything else is going to be the blade. Number one, I really like clip points. It's one of my favorite blade styles. I love Bowie style blades or clip points, both in traditionals and in, you know, fixed blades. I love my XM18 Bowie. I just love the clip point blade shape. Like I said, it's one of my favorites. The blade actually, the style on here is it has a nice amount of flat and then a good amount of belly. It comes to a nice fine point, and the blade stock on this is extremely thin. So let's go ahead and take a look at this against the Bugout. You can see it's about the same, maybe even a little thinner than the Bugout here. So that's great. But the difference is this is a slight hollow grind, and as a result, the behind the edge thinness on this is beautiful. You can see it's even thinner behind the edge than the Bugout. I don't know if you can actually see it in the camera here. Let's see if I can. Come on, focus. Yeah, so you may be able to see it, but it's very, very thin behind the edge. And as a result, this thing is a slicing monster. It just, no matter what you put in front of it, this thing just slices right through, like, you know, it's like it's the Fruit Ninja. Like, this thing it's amazing. Through paper, through cardboard, just zips through anything you possibly need it to go through. And I'm very, very happy with the blade. It's amazing. In addition, it has this fuller here, which is both aesthetically pleasing and functional, because you can Spidey flick this out. You can, you know, thumb roll this out. I don't recommend the thumb roll, but the Spidey flick on it is quite nice on the fuller. The reason I don't recommend the thumb roll is I don't want your thumb to get stuck and then you cut yourself on this very, very thin blade, because it will get you. So that's great as well. The double detent system is quite nice here. You can see that it's non-locking, and I really like that. It's a lot of fun, just like the EWC here. Oh, and by the way, if we were talking about the blade here, the stock thickness you can see is definitely a lot thinner than the EWC. So even if you own the EWC, if you're really looking for something that's a little bit thinner behind the edge, the Appalachian Drifter is going to be that. So that's great. In addition, like I said, the styling on this is awesome. One of my favorite Civivi styles here with this Damascus and the black Damascus there as well. The pocket clip is a nice deep carry pocket clip with recessed screws, which I think is an excellent feature to see from Civivi on some of their knives. I'm glad they're doing it on a knife where it's getting into a higher price point, so that's nice as well. And again, just the double detent system is a lot of fun to play with here, and that's a great thing. Let's go ahead and talk about the bad on this, because there is some bad. Now, Stasa talked about how blades like this are not necessarily safe. So if you will go watch Stasa's vid on this one right here, he talked about how the danger with a knife like this is that it is non-locking. And unfortunately, I've never had this because I'll always pull it through whatever I'm cutting. But if you're not careful, if you're not paying attention to what you're doing, and you cut through and you haven't cut all the way through the material, and then you pull it back, it can snag on the material and come down on your fingers as you pull this back on the material. And because the blade is so thin, it will cut you. So that is, obviously a danger here. And it'll probably get you pretty good because of how thin the blade is. So just keep that in mind. If you're cutting through something, make sure to pull all the way through, before, and make sure that you've cleared before you start pulling back on it. So that's one thing. Also, when you're getting into a grip here, you cannot really use, I like to, choke up on here. Let's see, this is a good example. So over here, I like to actually be up on the blade and go ahead and be able to push down on the blade. I can't do that on this knife because obviously I'll push it right into my hand. So you just got to be cognizant of that when you're using the knife, that you've got to use it differently than a lot of knives that you're used to. Another thing is this pocket clip is not great for ergonomics. You do feel it, and the overall ergonomics on this, I'm going to say, are probably closer to a 7. They're decent, but not great. And that pocket clip is sort of a hot spot here. So, but that's not ideal as well. And lastly, the other thing that really is a little bit disappointing with this knife is that the detent coming out, coming open, is excellent. Absolutely excellent. But the detent coming back is not dialed in a way I would like, because whereas, here I can pretty much control almost every time that it, goes down, here I can get it to go down, and obviously it's working now, but yeah, see right there, like you end up with these where the blade bounces out. It's not consistent, right? And part of it has to do with where I'm hitting it on the blade, but, it'll also bounce out a lot easier than this one, So both of them have that issue, but this one has it worse. So that's probably the bad. In any event, overall, I do think this knife is a pretty good knife, but let's go ahead and look at some competitive options because we are nearing sort of the top of the budget arena. So, first of all, let's look at the Laconico here, the EWC. This is going to run probably around 180 bucks, and it comes in carbon fiber, and I believe this is M390. I believe so. I believe it's M390, but you're going to get those blade steels and those materials. This is marble carbon fiber, and for 180 bucks, so you can see a little bit of a comparison there on materials. But really, the bigger question is what is in this price range. So this one's about 50 bucks, the CJRB RIA. And frankly, I like this much better as a knife. It locks. It's pretty much the same shape as this. The blade shape's a little bit different, but is also very thin behind the edge. It also zips through everything. This one's a little bit thinner and is a little bit slicier, but this one really does well all around, and this one's also a little bit contoured, whereas the other one is not. In addition, the Spartan blades, what is this called? The Talos is also, working its way into my graces here. And this thing is under 15 bucks, and so it's pretty competitive in price. CTS-XHP G10, so you're working with good materials here. The blade shape on this is actually even better than this. This one's a little bit slicier, but the blade shape is it has a little bit better blade geometry here on this one. So that's another thing to consider here. And the other one to consider in this price range is the Mini Bugout. And so the Mini Bugout is going to be, I should clear this one off. The Mini Bugout is going to be another option here. It's going to be very thin, slicey behind the edge. And, for that matter, the full-size Bugout is also an option. But both the Mini Bugout and the full-size Bugout are going to be a little bit more expensive, especially if you're getting certain varieties. The regular orange Mini Bugout or the blue full-size Bugout are going to be your cheapest options at around, I believe these are around 112 or so for one version. And the regular Bugouts, I think, are 119 or something like that. So go check the pricing, obviously, but that's essentially what you're looking at. If you're up in the $93 price range, another 10, 20 bucks is not gonna kill you. I will say this feels more premium. This does feel more premium than the Bugout. A lot of people complain about the Bugout being, feeling light or feeling cheap, but this feels like a more solid knife all around as far as the fact that it locks and like you could really do some hard work with this. So, one drawback that I didn't really mention on this is you're not going to be using this for hard use. You just aren't, because of the reasons that I talked about, where it's just going to pull back on you. You don't want to use a non-locking knife for hard use. So who's this for? This is for somebody who wants a gentleman's folder, honestly, who likes to, use the double detent, is only going to use light use with it. Anyone who's just going to be doing mostly opening packages, opening mail, things like that. Cutting down boxes is fine. Just if you're going to do it, remember you got to clear the whole thing. So, that type of use is great, and it is worth it for that. I definitely will say it's worth it for that. So, if you ask me, can I recommend it? I will recommend it with the caveat that I discussed on who it's for. Hope this was helpful, guys. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell to get all my content. Also, hit the like button and drop a comment below. Let me know what you thought about this knife. Thank you.